Hey, Marcus, you ready to fight?
Yeah, I guess so. Oh, you asked me how long it takes me? It depends on the idea. If I have the idea, like the panels start to flow, it's almost one page at a time, really.
Okay, thanks for stepping on the joke. But all right.
I am not ready to fight. I'm tired. I didn't mean to step on the joke.
Marcus and I were talking before. I got to work tomorrow. I hate working overtime. I got to wake up even earlier to catch the train. So you welcome to the Grouchy Old Men Show. Here you go. Oh, my back! Get off my lawn. Let's complain.
It'll be fine.
Yeah. So this is it's clobbering time. This is one of my favorite things that I do on my channel. This is John's Long Box for those of you who are new, and we just take comic book nerd stuff and have nerd battles with them. This is the kind of drama I like, and usually the crowd will pick, or the chat will come up with a topic, and then we'll talk about it. So this week, the crowd has chosen Captain Atom, the Charlton DC superhero, versus the Silver Surfer, the Marvel comic superhero. So I kind of like it because they're both like silver encased warriors, so it kind of fits. So as usual, we'll filibuster a bit until people filter in. So let's check out the chat. The chat. Wow, what a coincidence! Somebody put a link to my comic book. I have a comic book on Fund My Comic. Luke Stone opened up a website called Fund My Comic, and it's a non-political, non-shadow banning, non-whatever site. You as long as you follow his logical, clear, concise rules, you're on the site, and you can sell your comic book there. It's wonderful. Hey, we got T-Bunny. Hold on, T-Bunny.
I watched a T-Bunny short today. Did you see my comment?
I did not.
About Billy Joel. I knew that story. I've seen Billy Joel 6 or 7 times. He's one of my favorites.
I knew that story, but like years ago. But when somebody said it recently, I was like, that's so cool, you know. That's just a great story. Yeah.
I mean,
it's
I know
awesome
that
song.
he's not,
awesome
not
song.
one of John's favorites, I'm sure.
Oh, I
probably not.
Billy Joel.
Yeah,
I could never stand Billy, but you know, each their own.
But you know, if you're a punk, melody is not the thing.
No,
I did like the Sex Pistols, though.
Oh, yeah. Never Mind the Bollocks is one of the greatest albums ever recorded.
I like the Clash.
I love the Clash.
Well, I mean, you have to admit the Piano Man does have one of the greatest lines of all time in a song. You know, they share they're sharing a drink they call loneliness, but it's better than drinking alone.
Better than drinking alone.
Yeah. That's just awesome song. It's just awesome. I mean, it's just awesome lyric there. So.
It should be we're sharing an Uber because it's better than driving home.
Well, back then,
Billy
do whatever you want.
It'd be a taxi back then, so it is what it is.
So everybody, this is welcome to. Oh, so T-Buddy, are you grouchy tonight? RR, are you grouchy? Me and Marcus were just complaining about what grouchy tonight.
RR's never grouchy.
Not at all. I am quite excited as it's an opportunity to dig out this.
Ah, there you go.
Which will be helpful later.
Did Captain Atom and Silver Surfer fight in that?
No.
Oh,
okay. But there are the Silver Surfer teams up with Superman, and he fights Parallax, and there's enough comparison in this, I think, to establish a sensible outcome.
Okay.
I mean,
so like I said,
this thing's awesome, by the way.
Hey, Buzz, how you doing? So I was on Velvet Room's channel earlier. Joker the Fool is another one of his names, and it was kind of fun because there was a bunch of people in the chat that I've never interacted with before. You know, he does like a Ripperverse show once, and he lives.
He's a nice guy. I remember him.
Yeah, he came on and talked about when we did Ice Down versus Cyberfrog.
He's a good guy.
But it turns out he lives like a couple of blocks away from me. So he came over last Saturday.
I didn't think he lived in Long Island.
Yeah, he came over. He's the one who did the video of my comic book.
Yes, I watched that video.
Yeah, he's moving away though, so he's like, "Can we do it now?" Because I'm like moving in 2 weeks. So that was fun. That was fun to actually meet somebody in person. And then I said, "Oh, you found out you live that close to me? You got to move?" He was like, "Yeah, basically." But that was fun. Oh, here is the challenge. Who wins, Captain Atom or Bikini Girl?
I don't know. What are Bikini Girl's powers? We can bring her up.
One of my rules is you have to be published, so that's why, like, we're not doing Mary Sue or like the paper we did with a Six Gun Gorilla. That was fun. But what are Bikini Girl's powers? Bikini Girl, she could make nuclear explosions. So she could make controlled nuclear explosions, like small ones, big ones, and she could use those. She could like blow things up over there. She could make her fists explode, so punch with the power of a bomb, and she could use them to propel herself through the air. That's the Golden Age Bikini Girl. The Silver Age Bikini Girl, as we all know, the Silver Age always expands powers. So she could do like radiation rays and probably time travel, because everybody in the Silver Age can time travel.
I heard the Image Age is on OnlyFans.
Yeah, the image the Image Age, she becomes like a cocaine addict or something.
That's a radioactive breast milk, I think. I think she had radioactive breast milk or something.
And DC Miller, for those of you who don't know, is doing a Bikini Girl.
We saw that panel. That was nice looking.
And I think I know what I'm going to put that in Heroic Tales. And I'm going to have a framing sequence. Renzo will draw the Patriarch's family. Like, I thought of a cute little story that the younger ones are going through the attic and they find a bunch of CGC comics. And they're like, oh, look, Bikini Girl #1. And they take it downstairs, crack it open, and read it. And the Patriarch comes home all beat up and bloody from fighting somebody. And they all look up and they're like, the father's like, that's Bikini Girl #1. You know, that was my father's comic. And, and he's like, oh, did we reduce its value? And then Patriarch's gonna be like, no, this is its value. Sitting around the fireplace reading a comic. So
there you go.
Family story. So, like I said, I'm just filibustering until people show up. Oh, we got 27 people. Who wins, Bikini Girl or Sydney Sweeney? Well, Sydney Sweeney is playing Bikini Girl in the movie. Sydney Sweeney is playing the Golden Age Bikini Girl, and then Scarlett Johansson will play the Golden Age Bikini Girl. Sydney Sweeney will play the Silver Age. The Silver Age one has blonde hair and a red bikini. The Golden Age has red hair and a yellow bikini. These are important distinctions.
I was wondering if.
So you're going to buy any Sydney Sweeney soap? Are you going to buy any Sydney Sweeney bathwater soap?
I don't.
No.
I was wondering when Jane Mansfield fit in, but I guess not.
I love James Mansfield. You know who my favorite out of all of them is Betty Brosner. Look up Betty Brosner. Oh my God.
Betty Brosner. Okay.
Yeah.
Who was the one I made? Victoria Lake.
Bogged down already.
Once.
Greta Garbo.
Down in the pinups.
I'm a big Greta Garbo.
This poor guy, Canadian guy, sends me a comic, Johnny Impossible. You'd love Johnny. Maybe I'll post those pages again. You'd love Johnny Impossible. The whole idea was he's kind of like a Peter Parker guy, and he's walking in the city with his girlfriend who's like, and he's like got a hangdog look on his face, and she's all excited. And then he can become Johnny Impossible. And he only plays one power at a time, and he doesn't know which power that is.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was cool. And he had this whole villain. He had another guy draw it. And I said, I'm going to make this chick. It's a silver. I forget the name of it. I can look it up. I got paid for it. Never got published because the guy's girlfriend died of heroin overdose. And she wore a silver, tight-fitting dress all the way down to your knees, like in the 30s. And she was the Ice Queen. She was the Ice Queen. And perfectly named, she was the Ice Queen. Exactly her name is. So I said, she's got to look like Veronica Lake. These are the things that I come up with. And they changed the whole thing. He didn't care. He was like, that's a great idea.
Logic, Finest, and Crenshaw are basically asking the same question. Does the modern age Bikini Girl have purple hair, dyed, and a half-shaved head with a girl boss knock? Let me just say this. No comment.
Nose ring. Got to have a nose ring.
You got to read it.
Septum piercing right there. Yeah.
Let me just put it this way. The whole premise of Eddie is Doomed is that the Golden Age and the Silver Age comics that Eddie encyclopedic knowledge, he studies these comics. They are what give his life value. Their continuity ends and a new continuity begins. So read into that what you will. Only Oscar Carano knows. I don't remember the name of the character with those powers.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got a bunch of people here. So it's clobbering time. We're gonna do. I'm gonna steal Bikini Girl. You're already drawing it.
I'm drawing Captain. Now that you did this, I'm going to say at the studio tomorrow we have to draw Infantile Chronicles, which is exciting. Except it's Elf Girls, and now I want to draw the Silver Surfer. I want to draw the Silver Surfer versus Captain Atom.
There you go.
Matt Barr said he was going to show up and draw this as we were talking. So Matt, if you're in the chat, say something. Let me know. But anyway, so we're going to do the silver Atom versus Captain Surfer. My brain is just adult.
That's not bad either, actually. You got to put the Captain Surfer. I like that.
Captain Surfer versus the Silver Atom. There you go. So anyway,
I'm going to put in the Black Racer.
Does anybody want to be the? Anybody want to pick a champion? Anybody? First person to say something.
I'll go Silver Surfer.
Okay.
Silver Surfer.
Okay. So, so that means you got to tell us about the Silver Surfer. Are you cool with that? Give us a little lecture about the Silver Surfer.
I'll let RR do it.
Okay, RR, give us a lecture.
All right. Well, not only can I give you a lecture about the Silver Surfer, but I can actually share with you some images of the Silver Surfer. Now, not rendered by Kirby, sorry, because that would be the original. But what I have here is in this resource that I have put out today is one of John Byrne's great works, a great Elseworld story. This is The Hunger, Galactus versus Darkseid. And in it, the Silver Surfer fights Orion, which we'll talk about later. But it recounts the tragic tale of Norrin Rad of the planet Zen-La, who gave up his mortal existence to become the Herald of Galactus so that the Devourer of Planets would spare Zen-La. And for an indeterminate amount of time, the Surfer guided Galactus to living planets from which he could draw their life essence. And in becoming this being, he was empowered with great cosmic abilities. His skin is covered in the silver material that makes him nearly invulnerable and resistant to the rigors of travel through space. His surfboard he travels on can move at faster than light speed, so they can cross galaxies. He possesses a sort of a cosmic level of awareness of things going on around him. Generally, the trope with the Surfer is his cosmic energy is massive, but as he expends it, he weakens slightly. So he can use it to do, massively incredible feats, but then he's weakened afterwards and it takes time to recharge. And that's the only way, really, the Surfer gets nerfed, shall we say. Do you want to, T, you want to fill in any details that are important that I've missed?
One of the main character traits of Norrin Rad, aka the Silver Surfer, is the fact that he became the herald for Galactus to save his home planet. And so every planet that he basically allowed to be eaten by Galactus gave him even more guilt in that his people are still alive and these people are being destroyed by Galactus. And so he never lost that, the same humanity that allowed him to sacrifice himself to save his planet. I
might add one thing if that's all right. Sorry, because in the John Byrne has done a bit of a retcon because the Zen-La story didn't come with the Silver Surfer's first appearance. It was brought in later. And John Byrne in this Galactus v Darkseid story, the Surfer believes he's a creation of Galactus. So he believes that it has always been his role to find planets for Galactus. And one of the things that Darkseid does is he puts the Mind Messer-Upper helmet on. The Surfer there's Desaad putting the Mind Messer-Upper helmet, which restores his memories. And of course, John Byrne drawing anguish. Makes him turn against Galactus temporarily, which Galactus doesn't put up with.
The thing about this Surfer is Norrin Rad was a good guy. I mean, he was a Christ figure. He was a person who gave up his life to save his planet. Galactus was supposed to be like an evil version of God. You know what I mean? And so the parallels between like Christ and Silver Surfer is I think intentional. So there's always been a couple of problems as far as I know with the Silver Surfer. One of them is how long was he the Herald of Galactus?
Good question.
Good question.
Yeah, so like they said thousands of years. And well, then how is Shalabale still alive? Well, they're perfect beings. Like Zen-La is at the end of evolution, the end of whatever, and the humans and Zenla don't die by natural means. You know what I mean? So that's the way they got about that. Okay, that works for me. But then they said, how does the Silver Surfer, who gave up his life to save, how does he live with himself being basically the world's greatest mass murderer, the universe's greatest mass? And then I don't know where, but they kind of retconned it that Galactus was wise enough to wipe his memory, and it wasn't until
Go ahead, sorry.
and it wasn't until like he rebelled, and then part of his punishment when he trapped him on the Earth, he got his memory back, because now you remember Shalabal, but you can never get back to her. It was like a little added twist, but that's kind of a retcon to fix, I thought, little problems with the Silver Surfer. Does anybody in the chat know if I'm correct? And you know how Marvel is. Sometimes they change things, and sometimes this editor disagrees with that editor or whatever.
Well, I think that Silver Surfer, sometimes you can always tell when a character started, like, from the character, and then other characters started because of a cool visual, and I think Silver Surfer was kind of like started because of a cool visual, and then they later turned around and kind of like wrote the backstory and everything because it's like sometimes you get the character first and then the visual, but then sometimes you get the visual first and then the character. And in his case, I think that's what happened.
Marcus, you want to tell us what you think?
That one, I thought that he always tried to search for planets that were uninhabited.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the other thing is the original intent, and then Graham Nolan goes about this, and he did this on us. He did a video about this, how Kirby never wanted the Surfer like this. That if you read the original 3 issues, that he was taught humanity by Alicia. He wasn't human at all,
right.
and that all the stuff that we talk about that we know of the Surfer and the Christ-like figure, that's an add-on by Stan Lee, and that Kirby was furious about that. That's one of the reasons why he was mad and didn't want to give him any more new characters, because he thought the Surfer, all of a sudden there's a Surfer book and Kirby's not doing it. He goes, how come I'm not doing it? The Surfer was going to be a much more angry angel of,
From what I know is Stan Lee was just like, okay, we need a big threat. We basically need like an evil god that's going to attack the Earth. And then Kirby went and drew it and came back and added the Silver Surfer. And Stan was like, well, what is this thing? He's like, oh, well, this guy would have a herald or an angel or somebody to be his herald before he showed up. So, but he had no backstory. He was really just like a blank slate character.
Right. So, he was a blank slate character. I agree.
So Kirby just drew him, made him up without any like impetus by Stan Lee. And then Stan Lee took him and gave him a story without any input from Jack Kirby. So,
yeah.
Which wasn't the right thing to do. I mean, I love Stan Lee, and I don't like to hear all that stuff about them, but obviously he probably should have had Kirby do it.
So there you go. That's and okay. So that's the history of the Silver. Oh, so he debuted in Fantastic Four. Was it 48, 49, and 50?
Mm-hmm.
That was the Galactus trilogy. He shows up. Galactus
the trilogy was really only 2.5.
Right.
They ended the whole thing in the last issue halfway through, and then Johnny went to college. Yeah. Nowadays, that'd be 14 issues.
So
they also ended it. They also ended it on Deus Machina.
Well, that's true.
Oh yeah, I was going to get to that.
That's true. That's true. But they can be.
Galactus shows up. They punish. Silver Surfer,
ultimate nullifier. Yeah,
he meets Alicia. That's right. He meets Alicia. Right. Blind Alicia helps him, and he
pun intended.
Yeah, he finds his humanity, and he rebels against Galactus. And then Galactus shoots the beams and punishes him. Galactus doesn't take away his power. He's kind of cruel here. He gives him everything, but you're trapped on Earth. And to me, and I know many people are going to disagree with me. That's fine. I always thought that was like what made the Silver Surfer the Silver Surfer. Like Peter Parker's guilt, the Hulk's rage. they would be different characters if they didn't have that. But to me, the Silver Surfer being this guy who longs to explore, trapped on Earth. This guy longs to be with this woman, and he can never get to her. That to me adds the pathos that to me defined all the Marvel characters.
And that fit when he started. They brought in Mephisto as his main villain. That
as
really
his nemesis.
the whole idea of what you just said.
And that solidifies the Silver Surfer as a Christ figure. You know, that issue, what was it, Silver Surfer 2?
That was a great comic.
Those are
It's a
the
good
same
series.
of Jesus. You know, women, you could be the king. You know, you lordly wealth. You know what I mean? Those are the same temptations that Christ had in the wilderness.
It's the one. It's the
I always
one
thought that Ghost Rider and Silver Surfer were kind of like almost like the same guy, it's just like in a different kind of way. Like
how is that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you had
struggle with that one a little bit, nice.
Well, I mean, you had the whole Mephisto thing, but you also had like a super powered conveyance, and then you kind of had like this unlimited power, and it kind of like came out a similar way, just when,
Well, the whole
like the only thing preventing them from really wielding their power was like their own will. So I always thought they were kind of similar in a lot of ways. Especially early on.
Maybe in that respect, but in terms of motivation, the Silver Surfer is motivated by the preservation of life, whereas Ghost Rider is motivated by the punishment of misdeeds, right?
There you go.
So I guess maybe in terms of some of their aesthetic or maybe not their aesthetic, but in terms of their powers, they're similar, and their cosmology maybe a little bit, but in motivation, they're quite different. But fair enough.
Well, talking about something that's really close to the Ghost Rider is Matt Barr. Matt Barr is,
Bar.
Yeah. Well, what would you rather be in the forest?
Killed him a bar when he was only.
You'd rather be in the forest with a man or a bar?
That's the way you learn it. So.
Remember that thing on the internet?
Yeah.
I'd rather be in the forest with the.
If you're a New York sports fan, you know what the name Matt Barr means.
Oh, really? There's a sports guy?
Oh, yeah.
Won the Super Bowl for the Giants.
Yep.
You're related to him, aren't you?
Does he fly?
Yeah.
Does he shoot laser beams out of his eyes? I don't know.
He shoots out of his foot. And his brother kicked too, Chris Barr. I know a lot about sports, Matt.
Yeah. Chris and Matt Barr. Yeah. They're second cousins.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Can you kick?
Yeah, I played soccer and stuff in high school, so I could kick a little bit, but I'd rather serve.
Cool, man. That's cool. I'm gonna tell you now, that's cool. That guy.
Yeah, I met them at a family reunion when I was a lot younger, and I remember everybody was kind of buzzing around them.
Oh sure.
You know what I mean? That they came to the reunion and stuff, and it was just like, hello, nice to meet you. It just didn't fucking register in my head at all,
Well, yeah, I was an adult when they did that, so I remember it well.
So what's we talking about? We're talking about Silver Surfer.
You guys done talking about your cool sports? Can we get back to nerd stuff over here?
Exactly.
All right,
more nerd sports.
So
we pivot to that nerd stuff to some other nerd stuff.
Stippling Vaughn says, as a DC guy, I never gave a shit about Stan Lee. I could understand that. The history of effing over the creative talent reinforces.
Well, we know that DC guys have mental problems. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I know more about Marvel than I do DC. Marcus, did Gardner Fox and Julius Schwartz, were they like paragons of virtue, or did they screw over people?
All the DC Gardner Fox was a writer, so he got screwed over.
Okay.
And Julius Schwartz was they were tough-minded. The way the DC the 60s worked is they came up with a cover and then wrote the story around the cover.
Yeah, but did they take credit? Like Stan Lee is notorious for taking all the credit.
Well, partially because the editor at that time, like Julius Schwartz, would basically give the guy the plot. They'd have plot meetings, and and Julius Schwartz and Mort Weisinger, they plotted the books out, and then the writer wrote them, and then the artist drew them in full script.
They screwed Siegel and Schuster.
So it's much more the DC way is much more who did what is much more in focus. The Marvel way is, you got used to Stan. He's on the phone and you're taking notes, and then you drew 18 pages.
Logic has a question. even though it's a full woke girl boss movie, are any of you planning to see the Fantastic Four film? Marcus, we'll start with you.
I have somebody to go with, I guess.
Okay, see, Cooper, what about you? Are you going to go see it? Cooper's
Probably not.
probably not. RR, what about you?
I'll go with Cooper.
Yeah, I'm interested
Sorry,
in seeing.
probably not.
I want to.
Probably not.
I'm interested in seeing how they realize Galactus. That's the main thing I'm going for. I want to see if Galactus is decent. I'll have some positive things to say about the film.
Matt, what about you? Are you going to go see?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait a couple of weeks
because I know that there's gonna be some cool shit. I'm not expecting it to like rock my world. I'm not expecting them to get everything right, but you know, as soon as the MCU started happening, I was like, man, they need to do Fantastic Four like Mad Men. They need to take that shit back to the 60s, and like they're doing it. So, you know, I don't mind. I know they're gonna screw some stuff up, but I'm still gonna go see it because maybe they'll get something right.
That attitude about it, definitely.
I'm cautiously optimistic, but me and my wife never go to opening night movies because there's people yelling and screaming. Like if anybody turns on a cell phone, we're both ready to fight.
Yeah. I mean, I probably won't go see it opening night, but like weekend.
Yeah,
I might go see it weekend
because the Fantastic Four are my favorite, and I don't know, but Pedro Pascal and
I know, man. I fucking hate that guy, dude. Hate is such a harsh word, but it's like I've just seen his goddamn face so much. I'm burnt out on seeing his face. Like Game of Thrones, okay. Fucking Narcos, okay. Then it was like Mandalorian. Then it was The Last of Us, and then it was this, and it was that. It was just like, bro, yeah.
He's just not charismatic.
The Kingsman, like
I don't particularly think he's that talented. So I'm going to ask
it's
John.
Not he's not, but it's just like give somebody else a chance.
He's a Chilean communist. That's why he gets all the work.
Oh, really? He's a commie?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a commie.
Yeah, he is. He might be gay.
Wants to know if I'm talking to John Romita Jr. Yes, I am. Next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Mark Millar asked me if he goes, John, would you mind if John Romita Jr. I was like, would I mind? Absolutely, John Romita Jr. can come on my channel. And then Mark said he's going to come on, and then in 2 weeks, is it okay if I come on? I'm like, yeah, right. So, they have a Kickstarter. So that's fine.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a heck of a...
Oh, we got Mike Good starting trouble. Okay.
Well, the issue with that is you're going to talk about Brooklyn and pizza, and then we won't get to the Kickstarter at all.
I know, probably.
Yeah.
I know how it's going to go.
Stippling says, mental stability issues. Yes, DC has more beneficial creator equity. Jerry Ordway made bank with his character's work.
Jeez, Mikey.
And what's his name? Chuck Dixon
says, as a fan.
Chuck Dixon says that he's not interested in working for me. I might be getting this wrong, but he said he's not interested in working for Marvel because he says they're whatever you call it, equity, participation, royalties is garbage. He says, but
it's
DC still pays really good. I think they call it he uses not particularly partnership or something like that. Participation. Residuals? He says DC he makes a lot of money till this day because of Bane and things like that. So I'll that's the horse's mouth as far as I'm concerned. Personally, I can't stand the MCU for whatever reason. I can't get past the woke, the changing character. Yeah, I have a feeling that they are really, really going to do Reed Richards dirty, and I have a feeling Pedro Pascal is going to wallow in how bad they're going to do Reed Richards dirty.
I
don't know why they made Silver Surfer a female. Like I just don't understand.
Let's not go there, or we'll never get back.
There's like two panels in a comic, years and years and years ago. So that's why.
Let's not go there, or we'll never get back.
Sorry,
that is a dark path. The female Silver Surfer.
What year did this come out? I'm up to 2018 with the Fantastic Four. Which one was Childhood's End? Burn. I just like that comment. Burn. And basically, the Fantastic Four. Yeah, Shiny Albert Zeros. Yeah, all four of them are cast strong, if you ask me.
I think I'm beginning. I agree with you, but Pedro Pascal is the
he's the blazing
well,
wrong.
the thing is going to be CGI, so it doesn't matter what that dude looks.
Yeah, but the only thing they got to do with the thing is give him the voice, and he doesn't have the voice, and he doesn't talk like the guy from Brooklyn.
At least Eben Moss-Bachrach is Jewish. There you go.
At least what?
Eben Moss-Bachrach, who plays the Thing, at least he's Jewish. There you go.
Yeah, but he's not. He's not.
They got that right.
Or at least he's not faking the Brooklyn accent. He's got to talk like what a revolt development.
Yeah, hey, it's clobbering time.
He uses the New York accent in The Bear. He's in that the series about the chef, The Bear, and he uses the New York accent.
Reed only uses his power to stretch and creepily touch. Yeah, he uses his power to stretch to calm his anxiety and touch the beautiful woman. Listen, I have anxiety too. I need to touch beautiful women. Can I get away with it?
That's some craziness
You know,
right there. But
when I see Pedro
he has
Pascal,
anxieties. He needs to reach out and touch the closest person.
No, you need to touch.
Does that person need to know? Like, is that person aware that that's his condition?
Yeah, but what? When he only did it with Vanessa Kirby. He ain't touching the guy playing the Thing. He ain't. You know what I mean? Like, I love all these actors who say, "Yeah, I'm a sex addict. I'm a sex addict." Dude, you're banging supermodels. That's not a sex addict. That's just a guy with a lot of opportunities. When you're out digging a hole in the backyard, filling it with some water, dropping your pants, then you're a sex addict. You know,
yeah.
Or
when you're on stage,
I mean, if you're Fox Mulder and you're out there just like slaying it, you know.
So Captain Atom,
when you're on stage and he's grabbing onto like a cat, Kathy Griffin for comfort, then I'll accept that he has anxiety. But you know, he's touching the beautiful blonde. You know, but anyway, let's get back.
I think he's gay anyway, so it doesn't matter.
So, what are the Silver Surfer's greatest stories? We already talked about his origin. What would you say?
Silver Surfer number 4 might be one of the best comics ever made.
Which one's that? That's the Thor. Yeah, that's a great cover. At least I gotta say,
that's a great comic.
I gotta say a story about that. Chuck Dixon told the story that John Buscema. He was like, this is going to be my comic. This is going to be the comic that I'm known for. I was in on this from issue number 1. Each issue is double sized. So he went and he drew his heart out on number 4. And if you read, you know, all this Asgard and everything like that, and he just drew the hell out of it. He brings it to Stan Lee, and Stan Lee just goes, this doesn't look like Kirby.
Yeah, Stanley shit all over it.
And John Buscema was a professional. He goes, you know, whatever. But he said a little bit of like a little light just went out, and he was just like, I'm done. You know what I mean? He wasn't asking for money. He wasn't asking for any. He was asking for an attaboy. You know, a little pat on the back. You know.
But the irony about that, I've heard that story from other people, not just Chuck, is that years and years later. They met up, you know, they saw each other all the time. Like 10 years later, Stanley said, that was the best comic you ever did. I loved that comic. He not ever remembered him crapping on that artwork. Yep. He never remembered it.
Yeah, well, Stan had a convenient memory lapse. That
the older I get, the more I can appreciate.
Had a very flexible memory, that man.
So I think the most memorial story with the Silver Surfer is that Fantastic Four trilogy. I think the second most memorial story is his origin. And then Dr. Doom stealing his powers. That's a good story.
Oh, that's a great story. I was thinking more when I said that based on a solo series, not as Fantastic Four.
I'm just thinking of stories in general. Then he had that weird out of continuity Simon and Schuster book, The Silver Surfer.
I have that book. It's autographed by Stanley.
Yeah, I remember reading that as a kid and being totally confused. I'm like, this isn't his origin. You know, there's this golden girl that
I like that. It was a good comic. Well, that wasn't the most exciting Kirby comic, but still a good comic.
It was a good comic, yeah. And that was like Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, like, were really excited about it because they got a deal to get their comics in real bookstores. You know, and keep in mind, in the mid 70s, early 70s, you didn't get comics in like Barnes and Nobles and bookstores. You know what I mean? So this was a step towards legitimacy.
Well, that image that Alex Ross did in Marvels of the Silver Surfer, where he drew all the reflections on the Silver Surfer. I mean, that was next level. I remember my jaw dropping when I saw that. because he got the curvature of all the reflections off of the Silver Surfer perfectly, and I was just thinking, I was like, that's genius right there.
The Silver Surfer Parable by Mobius and Stan Lee. That was like a 2-issue series. That was
a great story.
I have that as like as one. Like I have it as
it
one
as
book.
a collected. Yeah.
Yeah, I have the Mobius Silver Surfer as one book where he like forgets who he is or something. Like he's kind of. And I wish somebody would draw Silver Surfer like with like a real a real surfboard. Like they always draw him on like this fucking ironing board.
Right. It like sometimes he has a fin, sometimes he doesn't. Like
I would love for them to do like a 3 fin, and he could like carve a nebula or something.
That's not that easy to draw though. It's a weird perspective thing to work on that board.
I know,
isn't it?
The Silver Surfer,
like surfing though. You know what I mean? So it's like as somebody who like loves to surf, like I'm like, oh my god, like they should like fucking lean into that just once.
Oh, right.
I love the Silver Surfer verse. That's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite.
That's really good.
And I always talk about
Crimson.
I always talk about when Mephisto like tempted him with the beautiful women. Oh my god! As a little kid.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking of that page right now.
That was the first time a comic book affected me in a special way.
And that's a part of John B. Summers' art so underrated is the way he drew women.
Right. He himself said
there's certain looks to the faces that he did. Oh. And you could see them like Melania Trump looks like a John B. Summer woman.
Yeah.
That type of look, that kind of outwardly look. He was
cat eyes, like the cheekbones. Yeah.
Those high cheekbones, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder what his wife looked like. I wonder if he was just like drawing his wife all the time, like for Zeta.
I always picture Jack Kirby's wife to look like Big Barda.
She was partially based on Big Barda, yeah.
I heard somewhere. Okay, Matt's an artist and Marcus is an artist. I was told that that artists usually draw women that they find beautiful. Like Will Eisner was obviously attracted to like Veronica Lake and stuff. Like all, and John Byrne, he has this look, and it's oddly enough, I call it the Rose Byrne face. The actress Rose Byrne, she is like a walking John Byrne.
Rose Byrne looks like a John Byrne.
You know what I mean? So, yeah. I wonder, like.
So I would say, yeah. I mean, that's there's like an art therapy thing to it where it's like, oh, show me what you draw, and I'll show you your desires. Where it's like, if I'm sitting here and I'm drawing for hours and hours and hours, I'm going to be drawing stuff that I'm attracted to, even on a subconscious level. Yeah. I'll end up like, I start drawing women. I end up starting to draw my wife. You know what I mean? You can like, and you can see it. You're like, oh, hey, there's
Dan Plagle might have a thing for breasts. I think he might have a thing for breasts.
Wow.
Who? Dan Plagle?
Dan Plagle.
Yeah, Dan Plagle does. And then you see his wife, and she's in spades.
Yeah.
And, bless her heart.
Huh? Frank Frazetta like a girl with a little bit of meat in her carriage,
dude. And his wife,
was smoking.
Was exactly, dude. Yeah, he was basically just. He was basically just like drawing his wife, nonstop.
Yep. Yeah. So Marcus, do you do that when you draw? Like, do you find like, hey, this is what I'm attracted to. This is the kind of woman that. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
You draw your wife over and over again, right, Marcus?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's why I'm good at it.
Does your wife look like
it's like I'm drawing. I'm not
she's
drawing
in the other room, so
Meryl Streep with skinny little lips. I'm drawing.
Salma
Hayek over and over.
Yeah,
I'm kidding, Marcus.
Do you find yourself drawing like the type of woman that you're attracted to? I can't draw, so I can't answer. But anyway, back to Silver Surfer. So, what are his powers?
The power cosmic, whatever that means.
Right.
He shoots stuff.
He shoots stuff. Cooper, tell us, what is the power cosmic?
Well, it's an energy, as a universal energy that like runs through all things, and it's whichever writer is writing him at the time decides it is.
Right.
Sometimes it's a light energy, sometimes it's a radiation, sometimes it's a laser, almost.
So we all agree that
on the writer.
We all agree he could survive in space. Like the armor that he wears gives him like survivability and vulnerability.
But it's not armor. It's like he's constituted.
Right.
It's like
So the
what he's
question
made up
I
of.
have is, if he ever gets out with Shalabal, he's not exactly endowed anymore. He's kind of encased in silver.
Well, that's
Yeah.
another thing. Sometimes he's wearing underwear. Sometimes he ain't wearing underwear.
Well, I think I don't think he was ever meant to put the underwear on, and I think that might have been a comics code thing.
Right.
That they had to go back and add lines for that because
I mean, and plus he's an alien, so it's not like he has like his junk just hanging out. You know, who knows what kind of
that was a humanoid race, so.
But
they could have like 3 dimples and 2 indentions, and then the girl has like 4 indentions. You know what I mean?
Like, not a shower.
Yeah, it's all enclosed like an alligator. You know what I mean?
Right.
Three seashells.
Exactly.
3 seashells.
Yeah, exactly. It's on their planet there's 3 seashells.
So like Cooper said, the Silver Surfer, besides the obvious powers that he always had, flight and silver, he had the power cosmic, which is plot powers. What is the power cosmic? He could whatever he wants it to be. And like Marcus said earlier, or Aura said earlier, the more he expended himself, that was his only weakness as far as power was concerned. If he pulled out a lot of power and used it, he would be weak. But he recharged over time. Where did this power come from? I don't know. Was he solar powered? Was it just intrinsic? Who knows? Was it just
Galactus?
But he was Galactus writ small. You know what I mean? I think he could do anything Galactus could do, but without the power reserves of Galactus. Does that sound fair?
Well, yes, because his power was part of Galactus.
Right.
Galactus imparted part of the power cosmic on him.
Yeah, Galactus pulls the power out of him at one point,
which he did for all his other
heralds.
Like Fire Lord, his heralds, the Fire Lord or Airwalker or
Terrax. My favorite Terrax, yeah.
Well, Airwalker's pretty cool.
Okay, so I think we covered the Silver Surfer pretty well. Anybody want to talk about Captain Atom?
Which version? I mean, that's the tricky part.
Okay, so
The alien or the retconned.
So I'll start with Captain. So Captain Atom was created by Steve Ditko in Charlton Comics. I think it was Mystery Suspense or something like that.
Mystery Suspense.
Space Adventures, I think.
Space Adventures.
It was Mystery. It was the other one first.
And then
Strange Space
and what was
Suspense
he was never really defined. He was like one of these these superheroes back then. They just had whatever power was necessary. Like the original Blue Beetle, he could turn into a ghost, turn into a giant. He could phase through walls. You know what I mean? It was ridiculous. But Captain Atom was a little bit better because I think Steve Ditko was a little bit more consistent. But he could fly. He was invulnerable. He had like all the powers of Superman, and then he could rearrange molecules.
He was supposed to be Charlton Superman.
Right, he was Charlton Superman.
I think later on they kind of took that and made Firestorm.
Right, and then
well, they were separate. Charlton wasn't DC.
And then Charlton went defunct. DC bought all the Charlton characters, and so Captain Atom was kind of redundant because they had Firestorm, which was almost like the same power set, but different look, vastly different.
Holy Christ, power!
So I admit that I first heard of Captain Atom in Captain Atom #1. I forget who was that. Len Wein and Pat Broderick.
Pat Broderick, yeah.
And I was a Pat Broderick. Pat Broderick was my first favorite comic book artist. Way back since those Captain Marvels that he drew with Drax and Destroyer and everything. So I was I was on board with issue 1. And what was he? He was a captain. And this is like the most convoluted origin in all of DC.
We've had like 14 origins too.
Right. They kept changing them. So what happened was he got falsely accused of like treason, and then they used him as a guinea pig, and there was this alien metal. They put him inside the alien metal, detonated a bomb under it, and it sent him into the future. And when he came back, he was merged with this metal, so it fused all over his skin. And he was as strong as Superman. He could fly. He could turn into. He basically had every superpower.
Yeah.
He was vastly powerful. He's one of those DC overpowered beings, but they put like bombs in him and stuff like that and controlled him. Like General Illing used him as a patsy. which made no sense. What, just pull those freaking things out of them, you know what I mean? And then they replicated it with Major Force. And it always bothered me that Major Force controlled matter and Captain Atom controlled energy. When atoms are matter and Force is energy, they should have been the other way around, but I'm a crazy person. And then they retconned it.
I
No
thought it was
argument
like
here.
Captain Atom because he was like nuclear powered or
something.
something.
Right,
Like,
yeah,
internally he was like nuclear wise because at some point he gets cut, right?
Right,
and like
right.
shit just pours out and kills everybody.
Kingdom Come.
It's Kingdom Come. Yeah.
Kingdom Come.
That
But
was
it happened in
Kingdom
the regular
Come.
comic too.
Yeah, I just realized I was ignoring the comments. Yeah, but Matt, you're absolutely right. At one point, he gets cut and he just bleeds radiation, and that's the whole premise of Kingdom Come, is he gets defeated. I forget, somebody cuts him and
Parasite rips him open.
He rips him open and he explodes and destroys like the breadbasket of the United States.
Yeah,
that's how powerful he is. He is like
so he's just like, you know,
nuclear reactor.
Yeah, the power of the sun, but in like contained within this like special metal skin.
Yeah, and
so weird. I didn't even know about the alien skin, and they blew him up under the skin and like sent him to the future. That's crazy.
Yeah, so he was missing for like 20 years, and then of course his wife and daughter thought he was dead. Everybody thought he was dead, and then General Elling, the guy who set him up, married his wife. So his little girl grew up thinking Captain Atom's enemy was his father. You know, it was like Spawn. Didn't that happen in Spawn, kind of something? Or am I misremembering?
Yeah, something similar happened.
Yeah. So and then in a real little creepy, he shows up young, and he's talking to his daughter. He wants to meet his daughter, and she kind of is attracted to him. How creepy! But can't blame. She didn't know, and he does the right thing and just like, I can't see my daughter anymore, kind of thing. There's a lot of creepy stuff in
See, now if it was manga, they would continue the relationship.
Yeah.
Oh boy,
Really?
Well, some manga, I guess.
I'm just kidding. I watched Old Boy the other day and was like, "What the fuck?"
I think
what
that
the front door. Sorry, what the fudge?
I haven't watched that movie. I think that movie would disturb me too much.
You don't need to. It's good.
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't.
it's like it just goes really weird for no reason. But anyway.
So Shadowpunk has a definitive Silver Surfer is roughly 3 times as powerful.
The thing about Captain Atom, and I was kind of doing a refresher because I didn't read as many Captain Adams comics as John did.
Yeah, Captain Atom,
after that run, they changed him to he was the Monarch. He became Monarch.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
made him a bad guy.
They retconned him. They changed his name like 3 times. And there's New 52, and then it is, and then that. At least in the Silver Surfer, we pretty much have one surfer to deal with.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, which
Captain
Adam?
Atom
I'm thinking of Broderick Adam. You know,
he was originally supposed to be the Martian, but didn't at the last minute they turned it into Martian Manhunter?
they turned him into
Because too many people guessed that it was
not
Captain.
Martian Manhunter. It was Hawk and Dove. Hawk from Hawk and Dove.
Hawk, yeah. Logic Finest says Galactus gives every herald 25% of his own power. So that means he has no power left, you know, by the time
That's right.
over.
Well, he like gives it and then takes it back, right?
Takes it back. Is it that much? Is it 25%? Is that really? That seems a lot.
That well,
I was thinking like
That seems like a lot too. Yeah.
yeah, but
What-
still,
But also maybe at that
1%.
moment here, let me give 25%, and then once I've given that 25% to make you, then I start feeding and I replenish
probably.
myself, and you're still just like a fraction of what I have.
I mean, I will say that the Silver Surfer, I think, is probably Marvel's most powerful character, superhero. I mean, obviously there's Galactus who's more powerful, but superhero. Stan Lee always wrote the Silver Surfer as like, why must I do this? Like, just flying and talking to a lion. Why can't they just appreciate the beauty of nature?
I've got one of those issues here. Got a reprint of a John Buscema Stan Lee Silver Surfer story.
I'm just gonna grab
he's exactly like that.
Yeah, he's always finding. It would be him.
Yeah, I think it didn't sell, but it was double-sized issues. They were 25 cents at the time, and all the comics were 12 cents. And I don't know if the kids really got into all that navel gazing.
The melodrama.
Yeah,
It only lasted 18 issues. His Silver Surfer.
And
Yeah,
John
Steve
Buscema
Ditko
last-
created Captain Atom. Yes, Steve Ditko created Captain Atom, the new Blue Beetle, and the Question. Yeah, I like Gabriel Airwalker. Okay,
Yeah, so, well,
somebody has
very
to.
biblical design.
I thought Captain Atom was redesigned by his mentor Chuck Norris. Yeah, that's canon. There you go.
Uh-huh.
So cringe. The Chuck Norris stuff. Is cringe. Don't talk negatively about Stippling Vaughn only talk negatively about DC once Stippling is done with the Printer's Devil comic. We don't want him.
Mm.
We don't want him taking it out on my comic. Silver Surfer has a more angelic nature, whereas Captain Atom is a more yeah, absolutely. His slipstream had little sparkles on. Yeah, he flew and he had little.
Yeah, that was cool.
Just like Captain Atom had little star dots and everything.
Yeah, I just like the story of Silver Surfer a little bit better.
Yeah, he has a better story. Absolutely.
Well,
You
it's
know,
more
there's like
focused,
some
yeah.
cosmic tragedy. It's almost like cosmic Shakespeare.
Is that
you
right,
know?
Logic? Hang on a moment.
Well,
I thought that they did the new series where they brought back Thanos and stuff. With
But I can see there being like some cool stuff.
It was pretty cool too.
Like Captain Atom, you're saying like he went bad. Like I didn't read it, but when you say he went bad, I imagine that like the metal skin, like distorting sometime maybe. You know, like oh he's gone bad. Maybe like his head is like formed into like a crown. Maybe there's like spikes of
That's kind of
metal
what they
coming
did.
off of him. You know, like the metal skin is like being contaminated or something.
Well,
Oh, wait,
Silver
no,
Surfer
Terrex
can
Galactus,
fly
sorry.
through the heart of a sun, and then but Captain Atom is like the power of a sun, so you know he's not going to be affected
Stand
by
by.
anything Captain Atom can throw at.
Yeah.
I've got my old Logic. I've got my old Marvel universes here. Just gonna
Oh
pull up
yeah,
Terrex
that's
and the
scripture right
Airwalker.
there.
Well, this was 1982, so not anymore. But because I'm not sure if I agree with Logic about the fractions. So I was looking at Terrax, beautifully drawn by John Byrne,
Mhm.
and the Airwalker. So I'll just read this to myself for a moment, please, gentlemen. Continue your.
So
Okay.
I forgot
Talks
about
amongst
that.
yourselves. Yeah.
What was the name of that crossover series? Was that Millennium where Captain Atom was supposed to be Monarch? And then they wussed out at the last minute and changed it to Hawk.
Yeah, something like that.
Because
No, that was Invasion.
Invasion. Okay. Yeah.
No, that was a different one, wasn't it? The Invasion one.
It was the one that McFarlane drew.
Ooh, that one was a dope one. I still look through that one. I still flip through my issue 1 of Invasion.
I forget who
shit's-
inked him on it.
it's
It was kind of
dope.
interesting comic.
Like the aliens, these crazy looking aliens, they get they're deciding on invading Earth, and they're not sure about the whole meta-human element that's on Earth. And so they get 100 humans and they throw them on this like automated battlefield, and it just starts going off and it like starts killing everybody. And then at the end, they're like, uh-oh, because there's only supposed to be like 3 alive, but instead there's like 7 or 8 alive, and they're like, okay, you know, like all of these people have meta-human, you know, tendencies. So it was kind of, that was so dope. I was like, oh, that's so dope.
Yeah.
They're like,
Matt,
man, we can't
Invasion's
attack
good series.
Earth. They're just too many superhumans, you know? It's like,
Matt, do you remember that early hardcore band from California, Metahuman Tendencies? Just
no, I remember.
I'm thinking of Suicidal Tendencies, but I just
I'm thinking of Minecraft Minecraft tendencies.
You can't use the Marvel Handbook. No, it's not cheating. That's literally going to the that's going to the
sourcing
primary
it.
text.
Yeah.
That's going to the primary text. So, as far as Captain Atom, to me, he has an origin that's. I think the origin kind of did him dirty. You know, the problem. I like DC. I know Stipling's going to jump down my throat, but one of my problems with DC is when they streamlined all of those universes. I think they had to shoehorn in characters. Like, to me, there's no room for Captain Marvel and Superman on the same planet. Like, that's like having 2 apex predators, like two lion type species in the same, area.
Really?
You don't have lion and tigers in the same habitat. You know what I mean?
Well,
Well, one's magic and one's
John,
not. Like
Right,
you're
that's
kind of
John,
able
how I
to.
would deal with it. That's how I would
It-
deal. I told you I
well-
wrote a treatment and sent it to DC what to do with Captain Marvel in the '90s. I was so arrogant, like they were going to be like,
but having said that,
Sure.
John, but having said that, the compacting of the DC universe in Crisis, right? Not only has the heroes on the same world, it has the villains.
right,
So you've got Captain Marvel's villains on the same world as Superman's villains. So
Right.
that's actually it's kind of an even bigger problem. But I guess you can't have one without the other. So
right.
yeah, it's
Oh yeah, imagine a little worm guy hooking up with the Joker.
They bought the
Hello,
Charlton.
humans.
They bought the Fawcett heroes. They bought the Charlton heroes. They bought the quality heroes.
Right. And now they have the Wildstorm heroes. Like Grifter shouldn't be on the same planet with Batman. It just doesn't
Right?
work.
Yeah, it doesn't. Well, they could be in different cities, though. That's one thing. That's
And now
about
Mr.
the Ron
Majestic
Howard
and Superman and Captain Marvel, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
You
Like,
know,
there's
that's
no-
why when they did Crisis,
Crowded.
Crisis Universe was a great comic. It's dope, as a matter of fact, a really great comic.
Yeah, I
But
love Crisis,
It
but
didn't
it
help.
No.
It didn't help that at the end they thought that the kids couldn't handle Earth 1, Earth 2, Earth X, Earth, Prime Earth, whatever. And when the kids had fine with it, you could just make stories on each Earth. And they killed everybody. And they tried to take the characters and remake them and smoosh them all in to one thing, and it doesn't work. And Superman and Wonder Woman really had nothing to do with Crisis. They were retconned after, by Byrne and Perez, like way after by Perez. So they didn't even get affected by it. So it was out of date within like 2-3 years.
Yeah.
It
And
messed
the
up
funny thing
Hawkman
is-
forever.
The funny thing is right now your grandmother knows about the multiverse. Like every the guys at work that aren't into comics.
That was the difference between the Marvel universe and the DC universe. The DC universe did have this cool multiverse.
Mhm.
Oh man, there's a Justice Society. I love the Justice Society. That's pretty
Right.
cool. I don't see them all the time. Jerry Irwin gets to draw them.
things-
Yeah, it is funny. It's like once like mainstream people were like, "Hey, you guys, there might be multiverse." It's like, have you not been reading comics? Like that's
I
old
know.
news. What are you talking about? Like,
Right. Hey,
been there,
it's
done
all-
that. Quantum computers. Yeah, dude, we've already. That's not new. Come on.
I've said this
You're
for
catching
years.
up. You're
You
playing
show
catch
me
up.
any cool idea that reaches the mainstream, I'll show you the comic book that did it 20 years earlier.
Mhm.
I remember guys at work were like, "There's this like new theory about the multiverse." I'm like, "What are you kidding me? Earth 2 existed since the 50s."
They could
Yeah.
handle
Marvel 6112.
Flash of Two Worlds.
Yep.
But the Flash of Two Worlds proved to be so popular, they didn't really want to do that. They had to come with that after the cosmic treadmill. There was no Speed Force. He had to get on a treadmill.
Do your cardio.
So back to Captain Atom. What are his powers? His powers are super strength, flight. He can control molecules. So he's they said that he was supposed to be like Charlton Superman. It's funny because now he's kind of like DC's Sentry, even though he came first, but like he's vastly powerful to the point that he is a problem, like because he outshines Superman, if you ask me. Whereas Superman should be DC's highest point. We got
I don't know
Stipley.
if I agree with that.
I know what you power-wise he's saying. I don't think he's saying popularity-wise.
Yeah, I'm talking about power wise.
In the animated
I
universe,
hate
there's an
looking at his
amazing
powers.
Superman Captain Atom fight in Justice League Unlimited Season 2.
Yeah. Is that being I want to watch that. Is that running somewhere? I looked that up.
It'll be on YouTube somewhere. That fight.
I would-
Mm.
So, okay, what are his great stories? His
I
origin.
think it's on Amazon
think-
Prime.
His great stories are his origin, his death in Kingdom Come, and other than that, I can't really think of great stories. He was a good comic. He was blackmailed by the military for way too long, and his bad guys are. I can't even think of any good bad guy that Captain Atom had. Like he had
Major
that
Force.
thing. Major Force is the only one that I can think of.
He has one called the Cambodian.
Really? Was he starved to death before your eyes?
It's a arms dealer and
stop.
personal enforcer. Is connected to the Vietnam.
Okay.
Here's a problem with Captain Adam.
He's like, what?
Here's the problem with Captain Adam, and that has a problem with Captain America, is that the writers at DC, the writers of Marvel, don't understand anything attached to the military. It's automatic negative to them. And this is not just now. This is from the 70s. Now the 60s is a different story. All the people who worked on these characters in the 60s were all veterans. They're all World War II.
Yeah.
At varying degrees. Kirby was in Battle of Bulge. Lee was in the war. Most of them were in the war, or in the Korean War. But as it got to the 70s and 80s, these guys did not understand military. So if Captain Adam is close to the military is always going to be bad.
Right.
It's like Avatar. The military is always bad to James Cameron, always.
I always laugh in comic books. How does anything get done when every general is corrupt and every senator is a bad guy? There's got to be a good general, otherwise.
Well, there is the general that does the Captain America program, right? The Super Soldier program.
General Isimo Francisco Franco.
What's his name?
Thunderbolt Ross was never really corrupt or bad. He just
obsessive. He was obsessive.
It's obsessive, but he never was like a bad guy, really.
Nick Fury. Nick Fury was a soldier. He was a non-commissioned officer. He was a sergeant. They did roast for that.
But they often had him at odds with
command.
And then the MCU in a movie, he's kind of like underhand, dirty dealing and underhanded. He starts out, he's Nick Fury, but he's like,
because Nick Fury becomes a spy later on, and you expect that from a spy. Like,
that's true.
Sergeant Fury is steadfast and a good guy. I don't know. To my way of thinking, if I DC just bothers me because they always retcon everything. But I would have Captain Adam as the golden age. Like, he would have replaced Superman, if you ask me, because the atomic bombs, Adams was in the zeitgeist. You know what I mean? And Captain Adam would have been the top dog in the 40s, and then John Byrne retconned Superman to be modern day, whatever that is. And then like Captain Adam either died, goes missing, or retires, and then Superman becomes the top dog. But comic books, everything has to be right now. It's kind of just like a smorgasbord. But I don't know. But I it sounds like I don't like Captain Adam, but I really do like Captain Adam. But I gotta say the costume that they give him now with the red, like it's kind of a blend of the second or the original Steve Ditko. That is such a good costume. I always hated just the silver with the red boots and the red gloves, or the blue boots and the red gloves. That was kind of whatever. And then
I do like the red and red boots. It's kind of Chris Starr. Looks a little Chris Starr.
Chris Starr, there you go. I never liked the second Ditko costume with just the silver arms, But anyway.
Oh, right, that one, yeah. I like the original Ditko. The yellow and red is always used.
That's a good one. So we've been talking for an hour. So let's get to the fight. So we always have to set out terms. So which Captain Adam are we talking about? We'll talk about the modern DC one. And which Silver Surfer we talk about? I think for the purpose of this fight, let's just say that the Silver Surfer shows up as the Herald of Galactus to destroy the Earth. That's the easiest fight to set up. We don't even have Captain Adam is going to go and fight the Silver Surfer. Otherwise, they're both good guys. You know what I mean? Why else would they fight? This one kind of writes itself. So here we are. It's an Elseworlds comic. The Silver Surfer shows up in the DC universe. Galactus is going to destroy the world. Batman can't do nothing about Silver Surfer, and Captain Adam.
Enough prep sign.
Yeah, Captain Adam goes out to fight him. What do you guys think? Anybody want to go first? Anybody?
Well, Captain Adam kind of like would open up with a. He would try to end, as a soldier, he's going to try to end the threat early. So he'd probably hit him with a full blast of power, atomic power, and then Silver Surfer probably shrug that off because the guy goes through the hearts of stars. So and then Adam would probably be like, "Oh crap," I doubt very many things will stand up to a blast from Captain Adam, but Silver Surfer would probably be like, "Oh, that tinkled. What do you think, RR?
Well, I'm looking right now at the Burn
He's
Galactus.
looking at the text.
um,
He's quoting the
yeah, the
holy
Galact-
scriptures.
yeah, this is the Galactus Dark Side crossover, and the Silver Surfer pretty much kills Orion without being seriously harmed. Like he blasts Orion to the point where he has to use a mother box to resurrect himself. In fact, the Silver Surfer saves his life because he scares away the Black Racer. So, if this was an '80s comic written around that time,
Black Racer.
I would say the Silver. Well, here it is. The Silver Surfer is, to my mind, a much more versatile and powerful character. I mean, he uses the power cosmic for all kinds of different things, like spatial warps and rearranging matter. I mean, there's a comment here in the going to the text in the Marvel Handbook about how the Airwalker could use his cosmic energy to rearrange molecules, although he never became as adept at it as did the Silver Surfer. So, the Silver Surfer to me is the peak Galactus Herald. Nova was great.
Keep over so that
but,
the light just RR. Keep move over a little bit so your light doesn't keep.
Oh, sorry.
Putting
There we
glare. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So to my mind, I mean, I think I agree that Captain Atom opens up with a powerful, blast of energy, but the Silver Surfer can manipulate energy really, really well. I mean, he's surrounded by it in space all the time. I think the interesting thing would be how would the Surfer respond if it gets into hand to hand. Captain Atom is probably a more skillful fighter, but the Surfer will be more physically powerful.
How strong is what's Captain Atom's strength level at that point compared
Well,
to the
let's
Surfers, which Surfer could take on the Hulk?
Yeah. Well, there's a Superman crossover here, right? And there's a bit in it where Superman is in awe of the Surfer's power. There's this bit where they have to move Kandor. Is the crossover Superman Silver Surfer, and he has to cross over. They have to restore Kandor because Mxyzptlk and Impossible Men are messing with it. And Superman says, "You have such power," because the Surfer's allow me to help you. And Superman's, "You have such power," and Impossible Man's, "Trust me, Supes, he does." So Superman, I would say, would probably lose the Silver Surfer, and I can't see Captain Atom overpowering him. Surfer too versatile.
Matt, what do you
Too
think?
powerful.
You want me to read what Grok came up with?
Or we'll get to Grok. That's funny because I always close with Grok. Matt, what do you think?
I think Captain Atom is Air Force pilot, so I think he would be able to do some flying. I think there might be a couple of cool seconds of them both flying around chasing each other. Maybe some blast, but yeah, Silver Surfer can manipulate energy, so he could just like open up Captain Atom whenever he wanted to. He's just overpowered, especially if it's like matter manipulation. Then it's just like, game over. Then, especially if you're a containment suit for something else, all he has to do is like, okay, let me just meditate on a rupture in you, and then you're done. But the stuff of like Captain Atom being like a trained fighter, that would be a factor, in other places. It's like, yeah, he has powers, but like as a guy, he's also an Air Force pilot, so maybe he has some martial arts training, some stuff like that, and definitely like aerial flying. Like Captain Atom being just a flyer would probably be amazing, but yeah, just when they finally get down to it, Silver Surfer.
Marcus, what do you think?
I think Silver Surfer could break his containment suit and then create a bubble, and then have a nuclear explosion inside the bubble, and that would be it. No, he'd be vaporized.
Pretty direct. What do I think? I think we all Captain Atom is a contained nuclear reactor. He's a living organic nuclear reactor contained by this exoskeleton. Well, the Silver Surfer manipulates energy, and Captain Atom is just like Silver Surfer manipulates matter and manipulates energy, like on like almost a godlike level. So like Captain Atom comes blast him. Silver Surfer's like, wow, this guy's tough. You know, like I got to up my game. So I think it would be just like the first couple of pages would just be Captain Atom just pummeling Silver Surfer, and then Silver Surfer's just like, okay, this is a real fight. This is a real fight, and then he just like raises his hand, and like you would just see energy coming out of Captain Atom's mouth, his eyes, his nose, his ears, just and he would just like, okay, I got all your energy right here, absorb it, become that much more powerful, and then I think there would just be either a floppy suit or just like an empty exoskeleton just collapse.
Right.
Yes, dude, just like a floppy skin suit that just like fucking flops down and lands on the sidewalk.
Silver Surfer just has the Kirby crackle, just like now
he may take the fight. He may take the fight to the moon or something. Well,
yeah,
so that it won't
essentially this.
No.
Yeah. I don't see any scenario where Silver Surfer does not win. You know, I like when we did Silver Surfer versus Superman, he literally pulls the energy out of Superman, or he just like analyzes him and douses him with kryptonite radiation. Like the Silver Surfer is literally the most powerful superhero of that Marvel created. I like only like a dark side level guy has a chance of defeating the Silver Surfer. So Cooper, what does Grok say?
All right.
We're all fools.
While Captain Atom is an incredibly formidable opponent with near unlimited energy manipulation and resilience, Silver Surfer is likely to win in most scenarios due to his superior speed, broader versatility with the power of cosmic, and greater experience against cosmic-level threats. Captain Atom would prolong the fight or force a stalemate by absorbing energy and regenerating, but Silver Surfer's ability to manipulate time, space, and reality gives him tools to eventually secure victory, likely by incapacitating or banishing Atom rather than outright destroying him. If you have a specific
reality whopping. Oh,
yeah, but if he's the original Surfer, he might kill him because he wasn't human yet.
Yeah. Herald of Galactus, he would be, because the only thing that stopped him was the humanity of Alicia, and Captain Atom ain't gonna show up with the humanity of Alicia.
Yeah. If anything, he'd probably be like, "Oh wow, the power of this creature was incredible. My boss is gonna love to munch on this. We can find a whole planet of nuclear powered people.
Yeah.
Nom 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 nom.
He'd probably think of him as a snack.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
And not the way the Thing thinks of Alicia as a snack, but a different kind of snack.
Oh,
yeah, easy.
And that would be a little awkward.
Definitely different. That got dark.
Maybe what about Silver Surfer when he is like imprisoned, right? What if you're dealing with like a depowered Silver Surfer? Like at some point, it's like Galactus is like, you love Earth so much, then you're locked here, right?
So Silver Surfer trapped on Earth. I don't see the difference in the power. It's just that Galactus made this decree that you can't.
Okay, I'm trying to give
a
barrier. Captain Atom a shot.
Yeah, I don't see any.
No, because this guy is just getting chewed up. Like it's
they're talking about in the chat here. A couple of people brought up the New 52 was basically Dr. Manhattan.
Right, I read that.
Captain Atom. Dr. Manhattan was inspired by Captain Atom, so that's not too much of a stretch to do that.
That would be like if he like ripped his containment suit and then like still was able to like hold himself together. Because
so that begs the
Dr.
question:
Manhattan is on like is like God level. I mean, that's like
Dr. Manhattan beat the Silver Surfer.
Oh yeah.
Dr. Manhattan beats the Silver Surfer with his blue dong.
Yeah,
he just smacks him with it. Yeah, I mean, Dr. Manhattan can like freeze time. I mean, can Silver Surfer like?
I've been waiting so long to say that.
Freeze time and go back. Yeah, Silver Surfer's just like stuck there, and he's just getting smacked around with the blue.
When films are too comic book accurate, a little bit too accurate.
I mean, Dr. Manhattan literally could see all points of time at the same time. Like Dr. Manhattan is like beyond comic book level powerful. You know, he's supposed to be. Yeah,
he's like eternity level or like beyond that, he's like
capital G God.
Yeah.
We get that Captain Atom almost single-handedly defeated Necron. Although, Dr. Manhattan wasn't omnipotent. Remember Ozymandias did trick him by giving people cancer and he thought he did it. And You know what I mean? So
But that's like a
Whoa.
mental. That's like
Right, he's
where
also-
you're able to get
with
Dr. Manhattan
tachyons.
is like
He used
the-
tachyons to
yeah.
muddy the time stream.
right. So you
Mhm.
don't think Silver Surfer can manipulate tachyons? You know? Yeah.
That
Well, I
Dr.
guess
Manhattan
if
snaps
he
his
had enough
fingers and Silver
time,
Surfer disintegrates.
Hey,
like
Yellow Flash.
Agamemnon, like knew and watched and like planned for years how to take down Dr. Manhattan. Like we're kind of dealing with
Yeah,
first encounter fights, right?
Oscar has a good question. Oscar always has good observations. Captain Atom could absorb radiation, but can he absorb cosmic power? I think cosmic power is beyond, just regular electromagnetic radiation.
It's like the Force or something. It's
it's almost like
what binds us all.
I don't know if a nuclear reactor. Yeah, he's a nuclear reactor. Could a nuclear reactor like absorb cosmic power? I mean, because I know cosmic rays are part of the electromagnetic spectrum, but what Silver Surfer wields is not those cosmic rays. It's like a cosmic with a capital C.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So I don't see it. I don't see any scenario where the Silver Dr. Manhattan's a different character on a different scale in a different universe.
Well,
But,
I think the main problem is that you've got two people against one another, and basically one's power is like perfectly suited to nullify the other one's power, and
Right.
so it's like essentially it's like a prong in a hole. There's no way that it's an even match because they're not opposing forces. One basically can absorb and project energy, and the other one, all he does is he's a power producer. And so you got one that sucks power, and you got one that and can change it and send it back, and then you got one that all he does is produce power, and it's just like apples and oranges, essentially. I mean,
So we're at the point now. What do you guys want to do for next week? For next week's It's Clobber Time. Anybody have any good suggestions? This was a good one. This was a fun one. And also, who could beat the Silver Surfer? Like Darkseid, yeah, like a Darkseid, I could see. Could the Green
Yeah,
Lantern?
I don't know.
Darkseid can hurt him not Green Lantern because they have a crossover. Darkseid is able to
Thanos
hurt the
has
Silver
defeated the
Surfer.
Silver Surfer.
Who?
Thanos has defeated the Silver Surfer
Yeah, with the Infinity.
a couple different times.
Plastic Man? There's no way on Earth Plastic Man can beat the Silver Surfer. There's no way.
Hulk versus Doomsday.
Plastic Man is the most overrated superhero ever.
Hulk
What?
versus Doomsday. Hulk versus Doomsday.
He's
is a good one.
fantastic, man. Plastic Man.
I'm not
he's
saying I
been done
dislike
yet.
him, but people give, Grant Morrison said he was the most powerful superhero in the world, and I don't see it.
Maybe
Well,
world
Grant Morrison says a lot of
cosmic,
Right.
Just
light him on fire.
Grant Morrison doesn't know what gender he is.
Right.
Yeah.
Grant Morrison lost the wizard battle to Alan Moore.
Oh lordy day.
Yeah.
Eric's. Well, we may not be friends, but could you still finish painting my little Patriarch mini? And
Back
show
the
me what
book.
it looks
Back
like?
the book. Back the book. Back the book. Back the book.
What about taking it down a notch or two? Because
Well, we
had a
did
couple of
Plastic
really
Man versus Mr. Fantastic.
Oh, like street level? Like go a little
yeah,
bit
like
more
we've had
street
some
level?
really cosmic
We've done a
battles.
lot of cosmic
What do
stuff.
you
Yeah,
suggest?
so let's take it down. So let's think of not Batman because it's such a cliche, but maybe who would be a good match for Daredevil from the DC universe or a different universe, like the
We should
Badger
do
versus
Vibe.
Daredevil.
Taskmaster versus Daredevil.
It's not a bad one. That's pretty good.
Are
There's
they both in the
both
same?
Marvel universe.
Is it
Which
okay
one
if they're
would
both
you do
in the same
Vibe?
universe? Does it matter?
I mean, if they're in the same
Yeah,
universe,
that's
then
right. You're
odds are
talking DC.
Yeah, odds are they fought already if they're in the same universe.
I mean, maybe they could be like Ninjak versus Snake Eyes or something.
We could do that. I'd have
I'm
to
just
look up-
spitballing. But when you were talking street level, I was like, ooh, Night Thrasher versus I was trying to think of somebody,
Night Thrasher versus
like
Rocket
Night Thrasher
Rider.
versus
Uh,
Nightwing.
Nightwing. Night
Yeah,
Rider versus
yeah, that's not
Nightwing.
bad.
I don't know.
I feel like
fuck
Nightwing
is.
would beat the shit out of anybody we put him up against. To be honest,
Yeah, I remember
street
Will
level stuff. I don't know.
He had the Will-O-Wisp had a horrible costume.
The Red Hood versus
Thought he did.
Punisher.
Annihilus Legion versus.
Nightwing versus Daredevil isn't bad.
I like this one.
Ooh.
What did you say?
Well,
Nightwing versus
Eric said
Daredevil?
Nightwing versus Daredevil.
You guys, yeah.
No, someone said that.
That's every
You guys want to do
single fight we
Nightwing
have.
versus Daredevil? Let's do Nightwing versus Daredevil.
Yeah, I
would
would draw that, dude.
I think
That's
that's a good one because I think that's one that's going to have like a passionate fan base on either side.
What are you going to do for
Maybe
Eric?
We'll get some good fun headbutting. You know what I mean? Like in
Yeah.
a positive sense, not like not
This is
doxing
2 in a
each
row
other
for Eric.
and you know that kind of craziness. But
How many has Eric really come up with that we use? This is our second in a row.
Will of the Wisp.
Come up with at
Will
least
of the
4.
Wisp.
yeah, look at that costume, Will-O-Wisp. Yeah.
Oh God.
It's only a 1-time or 2-time character. It doesn't have to be. Everything can't be.
So next week we'll do Nightwing versus Daredevil. That's a fun one. Because first off, I like it because I can pontificate about both characters forever. You know, I know their stories inside and out. That's good. Like when Matt suggested Ninjak versus Snake Eyes, I panicked because I don't have any comics with them. I was like, I have to rely on
Yeah.
Gogo.
I was like, how obscure and weird can I get? Ninja
Ninjak would be a good one. Modern Heather
or
Ninjak.
Exo Manowar versus Iron Man.
So
That's not bad. I've read a lot of Exo Man of War.
Exo Manowar, I feel like, is an underrated character. I feel like they really missed out on
He had some great,
Viking guy with super nano armor fighting spider aliens.
I
Like
think he's officially co-created by Barry Windsor Smith.
Oh, really?
I'll double check that.
He-Man versus Conan. I feel like Conan would just fucking chop his head off. I don't know. He-Man's always fighting, and like, until next time, He-Man.
Yeah,
He never closes the deal with any of his.
He-Man would be like too honorable and nice, like because he's a child's character, and then Conan would just like stab him in the chest and grab She-Ra and run off into a cave, and Adam would be dying, going, "What just happened? What's going on? This isn't supposed to happen." And then Orko would get destroyed because I've always hated Orko.
Unless it's a Kevin Smith version. So,
Dude, Exo Manowar is pretty good. It's like
I have that. Yeah, I
it's
like
like these Celtic guys. They're like Celts, and they think they're fighting Romans, but it ends up being aliens, and they get abducted, and they're on this like ship, and somebody like carves a map into his hand to get this like special armor that's like bio-organic armor, and they were like waiting for it to like mature and harvest it, and he sneaks in, and it goes with him, and then he escapes from the alien ship, but it turns out that with light speed and time travel that he shows up in like modern times. So he's in modern times, and he's got this super suit, but he's also got like Celtic mentality. He's like, what's this? What is kind of he's got kind of a Conan kind of vibe. So it's like Conan with like Iron Man suit on.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I gotta get
right. And he had, and he didn't know anything about the modern world. So he's completely man at a time. And he has this Femi kind of sidekick who kind of is attracted to him as a weird gay character.
Yeah, dude, it was the 90s. It was like they never said it, but yeah, they like
No,
drew
he
him
was
fucking effeminate, and he had like a ponytail and shit. It was
Yeah, he
valiant.
got his hand
you know
cut
what I mean?
off.
well, you got Archer and
fucking-
Armstrong also with creepy vibes. So what the hell?
Yeah, I did not pick that up. I thought that was
Have you
awfully
done?
gay.
Have you done Hawkeye versus Green Arrow?
No, I've never
Yeah.
done that one yet.
Just a thought.
Oh, Hawkeye wins, absolutely.
We'll do Nightwing versus Daredevil just because I think the
Cool.
fan base for both are rabid, so it'll be a fun blood battle.
Yeah.
All right.
So I'm gonna end now. I gotta wake up at 3:30 to
Thanks,
go to
John.
work because I gotta catch an earlier train. But this is fun.
Oh,
This is
no.
one of my favorite things. Remember, everybody's invited. You don't. I put the link in the chat. Don't be shy, and it's It's supposed to be fun. You know what I mean? Don't take it too seriously. I just love speculating on all this goofy stuff. Like, if you believe Captain Adam can absorb the Silver Surfer's energy, then that's the way it works. You know what I mean?
Hit the link then.
Yeah, hit. You know. But,
Click, like, and subscribe.
Megatron Man versus the Tick. There's a good one. There's a good
Back
one.
Heroic Tales 2, so John can make the Heroic Tales 3, 4, 5, and all.
Yeah, please. Back Heroic Tales 2.
Really, please.
I want to get Marcus's art colored and in a comic book. You know.
And then Sibling Vaughn's too. I'm not the only one. And DC Miller. Well, DC Miller colored himself.
Oh, Eric, I intended to come on, but I fell asleep and just woke up. Okay, well, there's always
cool, Eric. It would be great to have you one of these days.
Yep, everybody. He's too handsome, though.
That's what I heard.
They call him the Guapo.
We'll be like stars behind the.
He'll if he loves the Tick, he'll have to explain that character to me. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Is he like human? Is he immortal? Is it like
that's just
yes. Yes, all of that.
There's no backstory with the Tick. He just is the Tick, and they never explain it. Yeah. All right, see you guys. I'm gonna go. Thanks a lot. This is a lot of fun.
Okay, thanks, John. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, chat.
Thanks
for you guys.
10 a.m. I'm gonna do giant size X-Men. So I'll see you Sunday.
Ooh.
Right? Bye bye, everybody.
Oh, the White Rabbit.